I've always been wary of Kickstarter style campaigns, and for good reason. I've been taken for a ride before, if you excuse the pun, like when I dished out $500 for an electric scooter from Indiegogo and it just disappeared. Didn't turn out to be much of a ride. But this Kickstarter campaign is one worth paying attention to. Today I'm talking about a new set of accessories for your iPhone or any other cell phone. Let me walk you through my quick review of the new LensUltra series of mobile photography and videography lenses from ShiftCam. What they're good for, their best features, and why I think you might want these in your bag as a very useful tool for your photography and video needs. I'll also be showing you some test photographs and video footage using my iPhone 13 mini so you can see exactly the kind of results you can get. Thanks to ShiftCam for sending me a prototype set of 7 different lens attachments and 2 lens filters to try, as well as the universal mount they've designed to fit the attachments over your standard lens. And that's what you'll see me testing and demonstrating today. All the shots you'll see are using the standard lens on my phone. I'll also be using a third-party app. I'll leave details in the video description. It's not the final version of the lenses that will be available on Kickstarter. See the video description for that link. But it will give you and me a pretty good idea of the finished product. That being said, let's go. The manufacturer ShiftCam wants you to think about their new LensUltra series as improving the capability of your mobile phone photos and videos in at least 2 ways. All their lenses offer improved edge-to-edge clarity compared with other mobile lens offerings all over the image. And second, they're focusing on blurring. Let me explain. They're looking to improve that creamy, silky, smooth bokeh effect that you get when you get pin sharp focus on one part of the photo, while the rest, most often the background, has a lovely blurred effect. Let me take you through these 7 lenses in the series and tell you what they're for, and you can see some test shots one by one. And don't worry, I'll explain about the filters too after that, before I round up my thoughts on this LensUltra series. Let's start by getting up close with the first lens, the 10x macro mobile lens. A 10x macro mobile lens is great for getting the small details that regular phone cameras just can't capture. It allows you to take extreme close-up shots of objects showing their details in high definition. Think plants, fabrics, and small insects. Anything with great texture and detail that you want to capture. The built-in hood of the lens conveniently places your subject about 15 millimeters away from the lens, which is where you want it to be for you to get a good focus using this lens. Check out these shots. The second lens is what you need if you need to be further away from your subject or you can't get any closer, but you're still looking for that macro detailed, really up close shot. It's the 75mm long range macro lens. It's ideal for macro photography of insects, plants, jewelry, food, and other small objects. And this lens can also be used for fashion, beauty, and portrait photography to capture makeup, skin textures, or facial features of a model with a beautiful shallow depth of field without having to get too close. It's also great for including some of your environment into the framing of your shot too, rather than the subject completely filling the frame. Check out these shots here to see what I mean. One thing I will say about these lenses is that they are pretty heavy. You definitely feel the weight of the quality of materials that go into the build quality of these lenses, but it means it's heavy on your wrist. If you're going to be doing a lot of shooting, you're probably going to need a stabilizer or a tripod of some sort. I don't even think a standard mobile gimbal could cope with the additional weight of these lenses, especially if you already have a large and heavy phone. Okay, let's move on to the next couple of lenses which go wide. Let's start with the 16mm wide angle lens. Now, if you've already got a wide angle lens built into your phone, why would you consider getting an extra wide angle lens? Well, it's not just about the angle. It's about the aperture too, the amount of light that can enter the lens onto the sensor. The wider the aperture, the better the image will look in low light conditions. On my iPhone 13 mini, the main lens is f1.6 with a focal length of 26mm. Compare that with a wide angle lens with the aperture of smaller, f2.4, and focal length wider of 13mm. The 16mm wide angle in the LensUltra series gives you almost as wide a field of vision as the built-in wide angle lens, but if you attach it to the main lens, which is f1.6, it means you're able to get better images in lower light with that edge-to-edge clarity too. Let's see what it looks like, and you can judge for yourself. Next up in these two wider angle lenses is the classic fisheye. These typically have a signature old school GoPro type spherical and warped frame, and are often used to simulate security camera footage or the impression of someone looking through a peephole through a door. And they're often used for capturing action activities and sports like surfing or skateboarding. Not that I want to stick a little rig on a skateboard or a surfboard, I'd stick to your GoPro for that. But if you're into trying to get that vlog shot with everything included, it's around 200% wider than your standard built-in ultra-wide lens. Here's the sorts of results you can expect. Let's go long distance for the fifth in the LensUltra series. This is the 60mm telephoto lens, again tested here on my 1x lens on my 13 mini. Now this is a very versatile lens that gives you a whole heap of benefits. First, it gives you optical zoom and reach. A 60mm telephoto lens provides a longer focal length compared to standard mobile phone lenses, usually 24 to 28mm, allowing you to capture subjects at a greater distance without losing detail or image quality like you get using digital zoom. And this is especially useful for wildlife, sports, and portrait photography. Second, you get a pleasing shallow depth of field. The longer focal length creates that more pronounced shallow depth of field, which helps separate your subject from the background, giving your images a professional appearance with that creamy bokeh effect. And they really are excellent for portrait photography. It approximates the field of view and compression of an 85 to 100mm lens on a full frame camera, which is considered the ideal focal length for flattering portraits without distorting facial features. Check out some of these shots with the 16mm telephoto lens and some comparisons too. Let's get into the final two lenses in the series, the 1.33 and 1.55 times anamorphic lenses. Let's start with anamorphic. What's that? An anamorphic lens can elevate the quality and aesthetics of mobile phone photography and videography, providing more creative options and a really professional cinematic feel. And it does this in three different ways. First, you get a wider aspect ratio. An anamorphic lens captures a wider field of view by horizontally squeezing the image. When it's de-squeezed in post-production or by the phone software, the result is a widescreen cinematic aspect ratio. For example, 2.35 to 1 or 2.4 to 1. Second, you get a more cinematic look. The lens produces unique optical characteristics such as horizontal lens flares and oval bokeh, which are associated with big screen movies and professional filmmaking. Now, our brains are so used to seeing imagery like this when we look at high production films. When we see footage like this out of our mobile phones, we automatically think high quality cinematic footage. Third, it delivers higher resolution. By using the full sensor's width and squeezing the image, more pixels are captured horizontally. So when that image is de-squeezed, the overall resolution is increased, providing that better image quality. Now, the difference between 1.33 times and 1.55 times is essentially a wide and ultra wide angle. Check out some of the video shots here to see what they can do. That's the lenses covered. Now let's talk filters. There are two in the package I got sent that ShiftCam have developed, the CPL filter and the VND filter. Let me talk you through what each of these is designed to achieve. A CPL filter is a must-have for those who want their phone pics to look fantastic. To start with, that filter is great for reducing glare and reflections. Taking pics of water, glass or other shiny stuff can cause glare and mess up the quality. But by using a CPL filter, a photographer can polarize the light entering the camera, which makes glares disappear, so the camera can show the true colors and texture of whatever you're taking a photo of. Plus, a CPL filter really boosts the color and contrast in photos. If it's really bright outside, colors can appear washed out. A CPL filter can make skies bluer and foliage greener, giving you more vibrant shots. The color saturation and contrast makes the visuals pop, so you get pro-level images even with a phone camera. Check out some of the shots coming up with and without the CPL filter attached to the phone camera lens. So what about the VND filter? What's that? A VND, or variable neutral density filter, lowers the light entering the camera without changing the colors. The filter's adjustable density helps you get the motion blur effect you want and gives you control over exposure in your videos. Here's how. First, you carefully attach the VND filter to your phone's camera lens or the lens you've chosen to shoot with. Second, adjust that density level. Rotate the outer circle of the VND filter to achieve the perfect level of light reduction. This allows you to use slower shutter speeds, which gives you that motion blur. Now third, you'll need to change your camera settings. To get motion blur in video, set your shutter speed to close to double your frame rate. For example, 1/50th of a second for 24 frames per second or 1/60th of a second for 30 frames per second. This is called the 180-degree shutter angle rule, giving you a natural cinematic motion blur. You might need a third-party camera app to set that shutter speed, and this is why it's really important to control that light, because by controlling the light you can control that shutter speed to exactly the right brightness for you to get that motion blur without over or underexposing your image. It can be tricky though. Don't forget to tweak your VND filter and camera settings if the lighting changes or if you want to try different motion blur effects to get the best outcome. Here's a little demo of what it might look like. Of the two filters, if you're into photography, the CPL will be the one you want to get. If it's cinematographic video you want, that's hard to say, then the VND with the anamorphic lens will be your magic combo. So here's what I like so far. Now I've said before that these are prototype lenses that I've been testing and using, and I think that they're pretty excellent. It'll be interesting to see how they're packaged up in the final Kickstarter. And I know that ShiftCam has been working hard on the feedback and testing results, fine-tuning for the final product release. I think the quality and feel of the product is great, it's solid, and you can see some of the excellent results you can get. Like I said before, the only downside is that they're pretty heavy and that you may not be able to get a case that fits your exact model of your phone. Having said that, I know that ShiftCam is working to make a universal mount to ensure a great feel and fit with whatever device you might be using. In the set I was using, the CPL and VND filters came with mounts that fit directly onto the camera case mount or the universal mount, but also another mount to slip onto the anamorphic lenses, and also rings that remove from the 75mm long range macro, 16mm telephoto and 16mm wide angle lenses, allowing you to attach the filters, making it a true and pretty complete system for mobile photography and videography. Most times I travel light, but on occasion I sometimes wish I had some other photo and video options up my sleeve, and this is exactly the sort of thing I'd be looking for. I just hope that ShiftCam will also ship a cool set of options of cases and bags to keep these safe and neat for me to throw into my bigger bag to have them with me when I need them. Check out the link to the Kickstarter in my video description. You'll find more about the LensUltra series there. And when it's done on Kickstarter, you'll find Amazon and other links there too. If you like this, check this one out. My name is Saab Johal and this channel is A+. Be sure to subscribe to know when there's another video from me. Cheers and go well.